The coalition like to talk a big tough game on crime. Will they do a better job? Well, I think it's pretty easy for them to do a better job than the last government did. But they've talked a big game. They want to implement gang patch bans. They want to reintroduce 3 strikes. Both of which I've openly agreed are probably a positive step forward, a necessary step forward in this country. But whether or not they actually succeed in reducing crime rates and, quite frankly, increasing the prison population, because I think that's inevitable if you want to get crime under control in this country right now, but also just increasing accountability throughout the system, because accountability seems to be something that's been lacking, particularly in the courts. There seems to be a considerable amount of unjust outcomes in court proceedings these days. But with that in mind, that's not actually the topic of conversation today. Rather, we're going to be looking at the victimisations of all offences for the last Labor government in their first year and their last year. Also, the criminal proceedings of all offences under that government in the first year and their last year, as well as the prison muster in their first year and their last year. Starting in 2018, if we look at the victimisations of all offences, there were 242,132 victims of crime. That's 20,178 per month. Fast forward to 2023, there is 380,121 victims of crime, 31,677 per month. That is a 57% increase in the number of people being victims of crime every year. That is disgusting. That is outrageous. But surely the Labor government did something to try and combat this. Surely there was, higher rates of incarceration, higher rates of criminal proceedings going forward, all of these sorts of things which would naturally occur when you have an increase in crime like that. I mean, that is 57%. But no. Criminal proceedings for all offences 2018, 150,592, which is 12,549 per month. So already this is almost half of the number of proceedings per month compared to the victims per month, which it appears just to kind of be how it goes. You're obviously not going to be able to have proceedings begin immediately consistent with absolutely, every single crime that's taken place. It's all a complex thing, but it's still far lower than the 20,000 per month that were being victimised, is it not? Bring it forward again to 2023, and there were 123,411 criminal proceedings for all offences, which is 10,284 per month, a decrease in criminal proceedings per year of 18%. So whilst we had a 57% increase in victims, we had an 18% decrease in criminal proceedings being undertaken. Isn't that odd? What's going on there? Are the police suddenly crap at their job? Are the police suddenly not investigating because they don't want to, because they can't? What are the causes of such a decrease when there is such a dramatic increase in actual crime taking place? Personally, I can't even answer it. I could not tell you. It just makes absolutely no sense to me. But what makes it worse is when we look at the total prison population numbers, which may account for why there has been an increase in victims after all. In December 2018, the prison population was 9,782, which is not too much different from when they took over a year earlier. By December 2023, not too long ago, it was 9,115, which is only about a 6.8% decrease. So that doesn't sound dramatic. Surely that can't be the case. However, this rapidly increased in the year prior to the election. If we go all the way back to March 2022, the prison population dropped to as low as 7,669, which is a 21.6% decrease in the prison muster between 2018 and March 2022. This not only indicates that there has indeed been a crime wave, which is very much consistent with what we were observing, particularly in 2022, but it indicates that there has been a probably some degree of a shift in the attitudes within our justice system, say, hey, look, we need to put the foot down because we are losing control of the streets. And we did lose control of the streets. The police did lose control of the streets. That is what we could all observe. The number of ram raids that were occurring in 2022 and 2023 was just ridiculous. It was unsustainable. It was not conducive to a civil society where you could go about your day and feel safe. But hey, that's what we're left with. So it's worth noting that despite the numbers of people in prison by the end of last year not being dramatically different to what they were at the end of 2018, at its worst point, the prison muster had dropped by over 20%. So where does that leave us? Because I think it's most important that we emphasize where was the point in time that the prison population was at its lowest, because this is the one thing which probably contributes more to the crime wave than anything else. But let's go back over it. 57% increase in victims, an 18% decrease in criminal proceedings, and a 21% decrease in people in prison. Is it any wonder that we had such an issue with crime in this country for so long? And we still do. It's admittedly not as bad as it was, or at least not noticeably as bad as it was. Perhaps we've just become normalized to it. And it'll be interesting to see over the next few years how that changes. If it changes. If it gets worse, if it gets better. But what it shows is that the leftists, the left, generally speaking, have no idea how to deal with crime. It clearly didn't work under them for the last 6 years. Then you've got the radicals and the Greens who think prison abolition is a good idea to entertain. Although, as noted by people who have looked very much into what the whole prison abolitionists are about, they can't even kind of figure out what they're about either. They have no idea. They're kind of like, yeah, so we stand for the abolition of prisons, but we kind of don't know what that means. We don't know really what that looks like. So what can we take away from all this? Well, we can take away that soft on crime results in a 57% increase in crime victimizations, an 18% decrease in crime proceedings taking place, and 21.6% fewer people being held accountable in our prison system.